Here we go. Starting off with a little Sia music this morning. Uh-oh, running out of breath, but I got stamina. Uh-oh, running out, close my eyes. Uh-oh, I got stamina. And uh-oh, I see another mountain to climb. I got stamina. And uh-oh, I need another love up in my, 'cause I got stamina. Won't give up, won't give up, don't give up, no, no, no. Don't give up, won't give up, don't give up. No, 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 I'm free to be the greatest ever live. I'm free to be the greatest here today. The greatest, the greatest, the greatest alive. The greatest alive. Uh-oh, running out of breath, but I got stamina. Uh-oh, running out, close my eyes. Uh-oh, I got stamina. Oh yeah, I'm running away, so Lord, I got stamina. Uh-oh, I'm running and I'm just uh-oh, I got stamina. Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up, no, 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 don't give up, I won't give up, don't give up. No, 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 I'm free to be the greatest alive. I'm free to be the greatest here today. The greatest, the greatest, the greatest alive. The greatest alive. Don't give up, no, no, no. Don't give up, don't give up, don't give up. No, 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 I'm free to be the greatest ever alive. I'm free to be the greatest here today. The greatest, the greatest, the greatest alive. The greatest, oh, I got stamina. Oh, running in a cold hour. Oh, I got stamina. Oh, running in a cold hour. Oh, I got stamina. Oh, running in the waves below. I got stamina. Oh, running in the dust below. Oh, I got stamina.
SpeakEasy is a progressive spiritual community sharing a message of love and engaging conversations that inspire creative expression and spiritual well-being. We say love is our religion, care is our currency, and peace is our goal. And we attempt to speak easily about tough and tender topics so that we can navigate life with greater wisdom and grace. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Beth Gordon, who's going to do the miracle worker prayer. And you can take that as a centering prayer, a meditation prayer. But here we go.
Thanks, Maureen. So this is a prayer that came through Maureen, and it's very timely, especially right now. And I really invite everyone to take a breath and really go within and listen to the words and let them wash over. Today, we begin again by tucking our chins and bowing our heads and knowing that God is all there is, that we are one with God. We surrender all we are to all God would have us be. We bow our heads, our hearts, our desires, and agendas to God's will. We trust that God knows us and loves us. Home to peace. We trust that we will see miracles where we once saw lack and limitation, and that we will be assisted in solutions where we once saw dead ends. We commit to remembering that we are immersed in God's holy ecstasy and audaciousness, where all things are possible, plentiful, and perfect. And we give thanks for another day of miraculous encounters, remembering that this grace, this good, is offered to us not just for our own peace and joy, but so that we may all be fearless extensions of God's love. And so it is.
Thanks, Beth. So I wanted to invite you to root into this moment and really allow yourself to relax and drink in the inspirations and the songs and the stories. Like I said, last week we talked about the creative cycle, and we talked about pruning, cutting away everything that no longer serves us. Some of us feel like we're being pruned without our permission, but nevertheless, pruning is happening. And then grooming, like really leaning into what serves us, what we care for, what we want to see grow. The series, like I said, is about spiritual gardening, or nurturing your own consciousness, your own soil. But now we have this whole new backdrop to lay these lessons on, so it can feel a little more intense. This is March, and March is notorious for being sort of a boring month because it's like not winter and it's not spring, and we're all like hanging out waiting for something to happen. So maybe it's the perfect time for us all to be in this space of waiting, like the patience of a gardener who just knows how to wait, because spring will return. We know that spring will return. I wanted to start off with a story about the power of having good roots during this time. There's a story that I've told before. It's about the California northern coastal trees, the redwood trees. And they're these amazing trees that reach to hundreds of feet in the air. Some of them are 350 feet tall. And they're called the sequoia. Some of them have been around for over 2,000 years. So they're older than Jesus. That's actually truth. They're older than Jesus. So these trees have seen some stuff. They've witnessed the humans go through some serious different chapters, and they've been around, they've survived. And it's because they're really beautifully rooted, and they're also extending. They root and they extend. This is a good lesson for us. But their height and their longevity, although really, amazing, is not the most interesting thing about them. The most interesting thing about them is that their roots only go 5 to 6 feet deep into the earth. Not that their roots aren't really long, but their roots only go 5 to 6 feet deep into the earth. And you might think, like, how does a tree that's 350 feet tall only have these very shallow roots? And the thing is, their roots actually interconnect with every other tree in the area. So they cause this tapestry underground that keeps them all connected. The secret of their strength is that their roots spread very far in the distance and intertwine and sometimes even fuse with each other. And this is why they grow and thrive in groves. And each tree is held firmly by the strength of the entire community. This wisdom for me from nature has me thinking about how we're all connected and what we're rooting for. What are we rooting for and what are we rooting into? Key to vitality is keeping company with people who uplift you, people, places, and things that uplift you, and whose presence brings forth your highest good. So the question is, what have we been rooting into? What consciousness have we been rooting into? What have we been entertaining? Are we filling our minds with friendly thoughts or fearful thoughts? This is a gestation period, and it's where we begin to practice spiritual well-rootedness. And the gestation period is between the concept and the delivery. So the concept has happened, and we're moving into a delivery. But of course, we know that underneath all of this stillness, there are energies and systems that are working to bring forth spring, and also to bring us forth into the person that's going to be able to navigate the other side of this conception that moves into delivery. So in the air of this gestation period, there can feel this very interesting mix of emotions. There's fear, there's relief. That's a weird thing to feel, relief. There's wonder, there's awe, there's confusion, and there's even pockets of peace. And we're all having this universal experience of like, oh, wow, this is happening. And it's an odd and interesting moment that I feel, and maybe many of us might relate to, when you got pregnant or when you first became a parent. It was like this exciting but really sobering moment where you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be responsible for someone's life besides mine. I'm going to have to do some adulting here. I'm going to be responsible. No matter how planned or unplanned that pregnancy is, either way, you find yourself swarmed by a buffet of feelings, a whole basket of mixed emotions, because you don't really know what to expect. You don't know the child that's going to come through you. And your life has changed, and it's changed for good, and it's changed forever. And you literally feel yourself being invited into a bolder swelling of love for this initiation. So that might be some of the feelings that you're having right now. After the quarantine, a lot will change. And we don't know what's going to be on the other end of this, what we're birthing together right now. But I am predicting that it will be good and beautiful and holy. And so here we are in this germination period. The seed is germinating. It's being busted open. That's what happens when the seed germinates. It gets busted open, and the seed opens and it begins to sprout roots. Those are the first two signs that we see. And you may think, like, why does the seed bust open and begin to set these roots? Because the seed at this point is very vulnerable. So if it didn't bust open and create roots, it could be washed off with the water. It could be washed off with the wind. But it begins to set these roots into something stronger than itself. So what are you rooting into that's stronger than yourself? If you don't, have an intimate relationship with a higher power, this would be and many of us feel called to even get more intimate with our higher power. So these early hours, they're super tender. So if you feel tender, that's appropriate. It's a new chapter. And a new chapter in tender moments, compassion, gentleness, care, sunlight, water. These things are good for new plants. They're also good for humans going through transitions. Gentleness, compassion, care, sunlight, water. Those things are not denied to us right now. We can have all of those things. Many of us have also been connected more deeply with our family members because we're all living in tight quarters with maybe some of us are alone and some of us are with our family members, or even those of us who are alone are connecting more diligently with our family members. So this is nice, because we remember, even in all of the ways that our families have pissed us off, underneath it, we're like, we like each other. We appreciate each other. There's this swelling of appreciation. The idea of rooting into well-being is about rooting into the many different facets of our well-being and what that well-being looks like. There's emotional well-being. Are you honoring your feelings? Not trying to stuff them or hide them or change them or drink them away or distract them away. Just be with them. Just allow yourself to maybe even express them. You can use that energy to be expressed. So just know that you don't have to be had by these emotions. You can funnel them and focus them into something creative. There's physical well-being. Are we moving? Are we dancing? Are we stretching? There's intellectual well-being. Are you reading? Are you challenging your mind intellectually, playing games or learning steps to a dance? My kids interrupted me yesterday when I was working on this talk, and they're like, come learn this TikTok with us. I was like, my brain doesn't really talk too well to my body anymore. It's like there's like this very weird interpretation, and I'm looking left when they're looking right, and I'm trying to learn the moves, and I'm like, this is good for my brain. So try something out like that. Learn to play the guitar. That's what Will's been doing. And then there's social well-being. Quarantine doesn't mean that we have to hibernate. It means people are actually finding new ways of creating connection with each other. So that can be done through places like this, or connecting through your words, connecting through blogs, connecting through writing letters to each other. Spiritual well-being is about having a practice or a meditation, using prayer and contemplation to ensure your spiritual well-being. So these are some of the ideas: emotional, physical, intelligent, and intellectual, social, and spiritual, giving us a whole overall picture of how to maintain well-being. This well-being and wellness, this idea, this concept, is actually a new concept to us earthlings, which I think is interesting because I've shared this before, but prior to 1970, it was not really a thing. We knew about illness, but we didn't know about wellness. It seems like it's a buzzword, something that we've all accepted, but it's actually a new concept. In 1979, Dan Rather did this piece on the wellness movement, and he started saying, like, these are not words that you'd hear every day. He was talking about wellness. Now, why was this a new idea? Because for centuries, the medical industry was not invested in wellness. They were invested in illness and disease. And around the 1950s, it was rewritten and it said, health is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. I think that's really interesting that this is a new concept. And here we are 3 decades later with this wellness movement where it's become a common household idea. So you and I, when we know better, we get to do better. We get to know that, our optimal state is not based on the eradication of illness, but by the nurturing of wellness. And we get to look into our own and develop our own care kit of wellness. Wellness is affected by what you take in and what you root into, what you invest in. Because it's based on the theory, what you focus on increases. That's always been the truth. What you focus on increases. And right now, the whole world is focusing on dis-ease. So in order for us to maintain our well-being, we get to turn the channel, and we're the channel. A Course in Miracles says that everything is love, or a call for love. So if this is a call for love, then it's a call to contemplate wellness, to the screaming of disease, to contemplate the optimal state of our well-being. And I was reminded of this quote by Julian Norwich, who is an anchorist. An anchorist is someone who anchors themselves into God and lives an isolated life in a cell. Sounds like fun. No, I would not be an anchorist. So an anchorist is interesting because right now we're all called to be anchorists. Like that's what we're actually doing. We're anchoring ourselves into this maybe more intimate relationship with our being, our truth, our wellness. And Julian from Norwich is known for saying, all shall be well, all shall be well, all manner of things shall be well. A beautiful quote. If you can just take that throughout your life, throughout your day, throughout your hours, all will be well, all will be well, all manner of things will be well. A Course in Miracles says that sickness is separation. So where are we holding ourselves off from connecting with a greater good? If sickness is separation, then coming together in connection might be healing. We want to think about the well when we come to the well. This is an old symbol that has been used in many communities, philosophies, theologies. A well is a watering hole. SpeakEasy is a watering hole, isn't it? A watering hole is a place to go deeper, to get fresh water, new ideas. Where are your wells? Where are you being refreshed and restored? The ancient idea of the well was a place for community to meet. And you would say, meet me at the well. I got to go get the water. You'd bring your pails and your buckets. And it was where you also found out the news of the day. The well was often located in the center of town. And you would go and get your water and your basic needs. But really, what really drew people to the well was community. What's happening? What's going on? Community is so good for our well-being. It's where we can share our triumphs and our struggles, and it's where we can take rest and hear a story or a song. And it's, I think, vitally important. We are social beings. We thrive when we're connected. There's a term called the blue zone. I don't know if you've heard about the blue zone, but there's these zones called the blue zone where this scientist has studied where the most vital and the oldest communities live. So they have these, and they call them the blue zone because he used a blue marker to circle these areas on a map. So the blue zones in the world are known as pretty vital, healthy practices are going on there. 2 of them are Sardinia, Italy, and they get credited for their blue zone based on some of the things that cause them to have happier and more vital lives is that they have mostly a plant-based diet, daily activities, and close-knit families. That's it. And in that area of Sardinia, Italy, it's the highest concentration of male centenarians. And they credit it to, they say most of them are sheep herders who tend to walk 5 miles a day and who have daughters. That's a weird fact. And they say the reason that the oldest among them are usually herders who have daughters is that they're doing the walking and that they're usually cared for in a tender way in their old age, and that helps somebody hang on a little bit longer. The other community is a Japanese community called Okinawa, actually, and they're called Okinawans. And they're supported, they say their vitality and health is because they have these close-knit social circles that kind of carry each individual, and they're connected to these small social, close-knit communities. They go through the ups and downs with each other, and they don't feel isolated or alone. They have this support system. And in Okinawa, they boast the oldest living women in the world. So that's a great example for all of us to remind us that we're better together. That together we celebrate and support and stand in solidarity and hold space for each other and witness each other and help each other. That it feels good to us because it's actually soul food. It's what we crave. So here's the truth. We were, before this whole virus thing hit, we were already headed towards isolation. We were getting really good at isolation without the help of a virus. Without the help of the virus, we were separating ourselves. If you didn't want to stand online, if you didn't want to use money, if you didn't want to engage with people, if you didn't want to go talk to the shop owner, if you didn't want to be in restaurants, you could get everything brought to your house. If you didn't want to go into Starbucks and order your coffee and have a conversation, you could text it and it would be sitting there. Like, this is where we were headed anyhow. So it seems like all of that interaction with people was like too much for us. We're like, it's inconvenient. Let me go the easier way. And what we come to find out is now we don't think that anymore, that we really have been stirred up to have this appreciation, a value for what we've been avoiding. We actually like each other. I actually crave a meaningless conversation online with somebody right now. It is healthy for us to engage with each other, and we can derive great wellness from that. And the idea of the well is that we create places to come to, places to get refreshed and restored. We are actually wells for each other. You have some wells in your life where you call them and you're like, God, that was such a good use of my time. I feel so much better about this riddle or wrinkle. I actually used Beth Gordon, who did the prayer for us this week. I was like, I'm off kiltered and drained. I need you to tell me something that's true and good and beautiful and holy and rewire my crazy thinking. So you probably have those people as well. Like, use them and be that for other people. I actually said to her, like, you want to swap prac sessions? Because I could use a prac session right now. And we did that, and it was really, really good. It's surprising the things that we hold off, the resources we hold off. So don't hold off those resources anymore. They're right here. Ask for them, use them. Right now, we're all going through this together. Every country, every religion, everyone from no religion, the rich, the poor, the sick, the well, we're all getting a classroom and remembering that we belong to each other. That's a beautiful thing. That's a solution, not a problem. The solution is a reminder that we're better together. We need each other. We don't want to get lost in our autopilot lifestyles. Like, somebody just pulled us back by the belt and said, like, hey, you're going the wrong direction. You don't want to annihilate and isolate yourself. You want to learn how to really be in harmony with each other. Even if that lifestyle of autopilot seems cleaner and convenient and more easier, it's not what we crave. The soul actually craves the messy, murky, and miraculous experience of community. That's what the soul actually craves. That's where all the best love songs come from. The best work of arts come from those places. I just wanted to remind you about that redwood tree, that's able to stand for so long and grow so high because the roots are intertwined with each other. We belong to each other, and the health of the individual is a reflection of the health of the community. But we have to know this, which we've had a slight suspicion about. We're responsible for each other. And each other means everyone. Even the kid on the street that doesn't bear our last name, we're responsible for that child. We're responsible for everyone. Even the guy that we hate, that we don't want to be related to, we're responsible for them. And when we turn away in judgment, when we turn away and say, I don't got it to give, we have felt that sick feeling within us. Puts us ill at ease when we know that we're not doing what we're really called to do. So now's the time to see if we can lean into that, to root into every moment, knowing that you have everything you need to move forward in love. That, my friend, is the word.
When you were speaking there, a song popped into my head. I pulled up a chart, never played this or sung it before, but why not? Good morning.
Yes.
You know how we do.
Yes.
All right. Many times I tried to tell you, many times I cried alone. Always surprised how well you cut my feelings to the bone. Don't wanna leave you really. I've invested too much time to give you up that easy to the doubts that complicate your mind. We belong to the light, we belong to the thunder, we belong to the sound of words we both falling under. Whatever we deny only brings for worse or for better. We belong, we belong, we belong together. Maybe it's a sad weakness when I don't know what to say. Maybe I just wouldn't know what to do with my strength anyways. Have we become a habit? Do we distort the facts? Now there's no looking forward. Now there's no turning back. When you say we belong to the light, we belong to the thunder, we belong to the sound of words we both falling under. Whatever we deny or embrace, for worse or for better, we belong, we belong, we belong together. We belong to the light, we belong to the thunder, we belong to the sound of words we both falling under. Whatever we deny only brings, we worse off for better. We belong, we belong, we belong together.
Yay.
Yay.
Awesome.